Welcome back, everybody, to What You Watching Season Dose. Duh. For you French people out there, that's right. we are
hot shots now.
Bringing it in with a Netflix original film. Will Smith, Joel Edgerton, Bright. Now, I actually thought this movie was called Blight, which would have actually been a better name for it, and we'll get into that much later. But first off, let's say hi to everybody. I'm the Reverend Jeff Kelly. They call me the Rev. And over there, that guy's Reno. They call me the Weasel. Dude, you know, there was this dude named Pauly Shore that used to do that. He wasn't very well liked.
Well, in that case, fuck Pauly Shore.
Right, man. Top of the show. It is going to be one of those evenings. We got a good discussion on Bright coming up here. But first off, let's talk about some trailer trash talk. That's right. First up tonight is in the Detective K series, Secret of the Living Dead. You're going to combine zombies with Detective K. Now, for you non-Kung Fu-ite people out there, Detective K is the only true link to wushu movies all the way back to the 1920s when they first started putting motion pictures on film. So I'll excuse y'all for not knowing who Detective K is, but yes, you got to read them because they're not in English. But man, if you like Kung Fu movies, this one's going to be kick-ass. And they're always so well filmed. I mean, they get the best Chinese directors and they're using the best technologies and they're using the best stuntmen and the best martial artists that they can find. And they're just creating incredible cinema that very few people in America ever get to see. So I figured I'd bring it up tonight. Detective K and the Secret of the Living Dead.
I'll wait till it's dubbed.
Sadly, they usually don't get dubbed in this series.
And I guess I won't see it.
But if you just want something to sit around and visually watch amazingly filmed a movie, you don't even have to care what they're saying. Kind of like Ghost. Nobody really cares what they're saying in the movie Ghost. Ever.
I don't know. Some people might, but I don't know those people.
Speaking of some people aren't going to really give a flying crap about Stargate
How
Origins.
did you know?
I'm down with it, man. After watching this trailer, I'm excited. I want to see the origins of the Stargate. Like, I'm a huge Stargate fan. I'll admit it. Mr. Goldie Hawn is probably one of the best movies he's in besides, Escape from New York, or Big Trouble in Little China. But besides that, it's a great freaking movie. Well, then you get into all the TV shows and all the other movies that go along with it. Some good, some not so good. The last one I followed was Stargate Universe. And that's where they got stuck on the ship and off into the black zone for whatever reason. And they got the fat gamer kid to come along because he was the smartest computer genius in the friggin' world or some crap. I don't know. I want to see this one. How they found it.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum here because I've never cared about Stargate. Sorry, guys.
Hey, it's totally okay. It's a non-plausible way that we actually got here to this planet. Notice I said non-plausible.
Right.
And there we have it, people. Ant-Man and the Wasp, not to be confused. This is not Ant-Man 2. This is not just a replay of Ant-Man. This is Ant-Man and the Wasp, because we're introducing a brand new character, brand new superhero. We're getting another new female lead character in the Wasp.
I don't know about new because she was in the prior one,
but she wasn't in the suit.
Yeah, it's just that she didn't get the suit yet. But this was set up at the end in one of the post-credit scenes.
I'm just saying, 2018, the year of the 2017 was the year of the woman. 2018 is just seeming to be continued along with it. Everything woman all of the time. And I'd say,
well, here's the difference in this case. I remember in Ant-Man, I at least liked her character, so I'm going to be okay seeing her with superpowers. That being said, after watching this trailer, Yeah, I'm still thinking I'm carrying through with what I said at the end of our Thor Ragnarok
Just
review
getting
of.
sick of the comic book movies for a while.
Yes, I don't. I'm probably gonna give this a pass for the moment.
I'm getting, there's just so many of them. There's just so many of them to keep up with. I mean, it really, when there was one every couple of 3 years, it wasn't so bad. Now there's three a year.
Right.
There's like every time the season changes, there's a new comic book
And
super
more power.
movie.
This is a heaven for all the nerds that love comic books and comic book movies and stuff. It's just for me, I'm wanting to see more different stuff out there. Like that's why I'm excited for the MonsterVerse with the Godzilla and King Kong that's coming out now.
Right. Totally outside of the superhero world. We're gonna get Mothra versus the Anal Collector.
I don't know about that, but that's probably that's probably what the porn Rev's been watching in the
Mothra
meantime.
porn? I don't think they make Mothra porn.
Have you ever heard of Rule 34, Rev?
No, I sure haven't. So I have no idea.
Does Mothra exist? I have a question. Does Mothra exist?
I have no idea.
Not in real life, but is it a character?
Mothra is I don't know. Does it? I really don't.
Rule
know.
34 means if it exists, if it's something, then there's porn of it somewhere on the internet.
The way Rule 34 works.
Yep.
So there's porn for toenail shavings.
Of course.
Not toes, not people clipping their toenails, but actually just looking at toenail shavings.
Yes.
Oh God, help us all. Anyhow, that
this has been your enlightenment, folks.
Right. This
from the Reno.
Hey, come join us for Dixon Holes with Reverend Cole on Sunday nights at midnight. Hey, Cole, gotta ask you, buddy.
Hey, what?
Reno, what you been watching?
Oh, I've been watching, I guess, the top box office stuff right now.
No, you've been watching
BoJack Horseman.
Horseman.
Yeah, I've been pretty sad that I have been lacking in BoJack Horseman, so I decided to watch the Christmas special that I failed to watch.
You know what's crazy is the critics actually watch and rate this horrible ass show.
My question is, have you ever seen it?
Yes, he's a half Mormon, half horse. It's idiotic.
It's actually pretty smart if you actually watch the entirety of the show.
He's a reverse centaur.
Right. But here's the thing about it. This show actually deconstructs a lot of the shit that happens within Hollywood that everybody acknowledges, especially like it covered themes of like what would now be called the Harvey Weinsteining. Before Harvey Weinstein was a thing.
Like The Simpsons and Family Guy and American Dad and all those other shows like Leave It to Beaver and Mr. Ed have done for decades.
Yes, but this does it in a slightly more nihilistic,
with the reverse centaur. Okay, gotcha. Hey,
this is very popular with people that
obviously I'm in the closet jerking off to Halloween 3 with this one because 9.4 people out of 10 are going to tell you they want to sit down and watch BoJack Horseman. Whatever, y'all can have the big screen. I'm going to be over.
So Rev can fuck off with his vanilla taste.
Vanilla taste. Well, then what did you put it to it?
I decided to get groovy.
Yes.
Oh yes, I had to watch. Finally, because I figured out that this was on Netflix, and I didn't have stars for the longest time, so I can watch this for the longest time. But now I can, and I'm furiously jerking off to this show.
You don't have to. We'll put it on the main screen, man. Shop smart. Shop smart.
Hey, I didn't say I was jerking off to Halloween 3. I'm just jerking off to this in the theater.
I
rented a theater out just so I could jerk off to it.
You can find it on aisle 13. Shop smart. Shop smart.
Shop smart. Yeah, definitely check this out, guys.
You rounded it out with a big old honking. Hey,
come on. We all gotta have our guilty pleasures. Just like this kind of has sentimental value for me because this was kind of one of the first R-rated movies I saw on like the Sci-Fi Channel when they would have their decent horror movie marathons.
The critics didn't bother, and 2.9 people will sit down and watch it with you. So you literally can't even find 4 people that'll sit in the closet that holds 6 and watch this movie with you. That's okay. Kind of a.
I'm not watching it for high grade cinema. I'm watching it just to see this monster that doesn't even look like a freaking chupacabra tear people apart.
People really do have a strange idea what a chupacabra is. I've seen it everything from a lizard man to a weird looking mangy dog thing in Texas. I don't know.
Very weird savage gray alien kangaroo cross thing.
That guy on the left, he looks familiar.
That's because that is Gimli.
Is that what it is, boy? You're right. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that is him. But in the meantime, Rev.
Yes.
Rev. I have 2 questions. My first question is,
yes,
what happened to the 90s? I miss the 90s.
The 90s would be great to go back to, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. But what have you been watching, Rev?
Well, nothing from the 90s, really. I did start out the week with Gladiator. Now, the tomato meter calls it fresh at 76%. I've seen the movie a gazillion times, but I happened across the extended version, which I hadn't seen before. And I gotta tell you, the extended scenes that are in there are worth catching. If you've never seen them before, scrounge yourself a copy of the extended version of Gladiator and really pay attention.
Rev, I've released the extended version. Mm-hmm. Am I not merciful?
Yeah, I'll release my extended version for you too, but you get to play just the tip. My. Yeah.
Here's homosexual pining for me, guys.
No, I can't help it. He's just so sexy. I made him grow that beard. I made him grow that beard just so he'd be extra. But yeah, this
was my thought because I'm a strong, independent woman.
That's right. That's right. You're good enough. You're strong enough, and doggone it, people like you. So I followed that up with something that was absolutely fantastic that the critics didn't like, but the people do, with Step Brothers. Now, I'd actually watched a movie called Step Sisters, and I got to tell you, I got like halfway through it, shut that shit off, and started watching Step Brothers instead. I had to cleanse my palate. I never even got all the way through that. Now, if you really want to know, the sad part is, I would have had The Last Train to the Devil's Bumhole. What the hell was that movie? Murder on the Orient Express. However, I never finished it. Like the last 20 minutes eludes me. It sucks so bad I can't finish that one either. So maybe that one will make it on the list for next week. But again, for a great cast of people, it certainly sucked ass. But this one doesn't suck ass because, nachos, lemonheads, and My Dad's Boat. Don't watch this one on regular TV. If you can't watch it uncut, don't watch it at all. Please, just do us all a favor. Don't watch it uncut.
Now I'm going to watch it uncut.
Yes, you want to watch it uncut.
I'm going to watch it cut then.
Oh, God.
To spite you.
It was horrible. Anyhow, then I finally wrapped it up. It's coming out or is out finally on cable. So I've been making the rounds with the Fate of the Furious. That's right. Dominic Toretto goes rogue, abandons his friends, abandons his family, and gets hooked up with who other than Charlize Theron with dreadlocks. No, I'm sorry, not dreadlocks, cornrows, which is even worse.
Guys, just be glad that Rev isn't on camera right now because he would probably be literally jerking off to Fast and the Furious right now.
They released the new Dodge Demon in this movie, and it's really always been about the cars more so than it's ever really been about the storylines, because they've literally gone so far now that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is like the Incredible Hulk. He like one punches people's faces in. He like one strong arm elbows a group of guys to the ground and they don't get up. He kicks in walls with his legs.
The Rock Johnson isn't like that in real life.
Well, he can't
I
even
just look at
run
him.
more than
I
10
expect him to
steps.
do that.
It's kind of like watching Mountain Monsters. When he goes to run, it's like they film him until he turns and takes a couple of steps and then they fade away. It's like Fat Buck trying to run through the woods. He can't run either. He's literally that muscle bound that he looks ridiculous in motion. But hey,
Sorry,
I'm sure
I
all them
kind of zoned
steroids are going
out
to be really
there.
good for you when you're good, when you're fucking whatever.
I kind of zoned out there because I was thinking of WWE where The Rock and Stone Cold were singing together.
Lord, can you can you no, but the rock is taken. Yeah, they're called roids, and you're going to end up a dead man one of these days, you dumb.
And I'm sorry, but that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
That's right. He's just drinking beer. He ain't doing a bunch of steroids. Speaking of a bunch of steroids, why don't we see who's hanging out in the live hangout box tonight? Uh-oh, I think I did a boo-boo. I think I really did.
Oh, what the fuck did you do, Rev?
I don't know. We're still broadcasting, and there's 6 people watching, so we'll get into that. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Oh, you got some on you, man.
Get it right here on the microphone almost every time. There's Starshine. She's out there swinging her tool around. Mr. Lance Windsor. Hello, Mr. Canadian, sir. Let's see. Hello. How are you? Mr. Dean Cooper. He's always out there as well.
Fuck you, Dean. Fuck you, Dean.
Mr. Rod Dupree. He's always in the place to be. Let's see here. That's usually about who's hanging out with us tonight. Sam Squancher Bear is probably floating around out there somewhere. And Squatch blocks Cassie and Christopher.
I believe there's an Angela watching too. So hello, Angela.
Hello, Angela.
Oh, hello.
That's just creepy.
Oh, is it? Stop creeping, Rev.
I'm not creeping. I'm giddy. All right. Well, there we go. I again said he met Mr. Paul Walker from the original Fast and Furious. Yeah, that kid was in Deep Blue Sea. He was in a lot of movies. I never did get to meet him when he was in the Keys, though. Anyhow, we're going to talk now about Bright, which my camera is not. Right. Hey, Cole, why don't you give us a summation of the movie in your brain as you see it?
As I see it, well, I see Bright as a very lazy, half-assed attempt at tackling real-world issues like race and gang violence and all that sort of fun business through the lens of a fantasy world where we have orcs, elves, and humans all coexisting to pretty much do what I just said, just to tackle these real-world problems through the lens of that nonsense. So basically, you just have your 2 main characters, the orc character, which I forget his name. Is it Jacoby?
Jacoby is his last name, yeah.
Well, that's all they ever referred to him as, so I just didn't... I assume he doesn't have a first name. See, all the characters are like me. I usually refer to people as their last name. I don't even know what first names are, guys. And then you got Will Smith, which I never bothered memorizing his name either.
Ward. His last name was Ward.
You see, he's not good enough for that last name. So basically, they piddle around for like the first act, and then the second act, they find this wand. Well, an elf that's carrying this wand. And so that propels them into having to keep this whole goose chase of keeping the elf away from both this Mexican gang and this other elf lady who wants the Deus Ex Machina wand to freaking bring forth the Dark One or the Dark Lord. He's dark and he's evil, and we should care for some reason. Yeah, as you can see, this movie it's an interesting concept, but it's very lazily executed.
I'm sorry. I'm letting you flounder here on purpose because it's literally how I felt through the entire movie.
I know.
You're bouncing from thought to thought to thought to thought, which is fine because that's what the freaking movie did.
I heard that this movie, beyond the first draft, it did not have a screenwriter.
You know what it seems like to me, honestly? It seems like somebody brought a bunch of scripts to a script house, and they took like 3 or 4 of them and just combined them down into this bullshit movie. Right. Because there's a Dark One Coming movie in this, there's a Bad Cop movie in this, there's a Elk versus Orcs movie in this. There's a, I mean, it literally there's a Humans versus Fairy movie.
Like I said, there was an original draft written by Max Landis, and as far as I know, they didn't really have him or any other writers touch that script up to polish it and make it as great as it could be.
You got Will Smith cursing like every 3 seconds. I mean, it was just all over the place.
He just attached the director of Suicide Squad to this movie, and he did the rewrites. Which I'm sorry.
Well, that makes total sense.
But a screenwriter, David Ayer, is not.
Yeah, I mean, everything was so damn dark you could barely see anything. I mean,
I never had problems with that.
I did. I did. I'm sorry. I didn't like it as dark as it was. I felt it could have been a lot brighter in a lot of the scenes.
Oh, you're saying a movie called Bright should be brighter?
Yeah, I didn't. The whole racism thing with the races was so obvious that, you know, they didn't want to deal with humans. They just let the humans hate the orcs and let the orcs hate the elves and let the elves hate the fairies. And
right. And just one of the cons that I have with the movie is kind of like what a lot of people have is just the world building is so lazy. Like we had this alternate.
I have no idea. Yeah, I had no idea where this reality came from and who all was in it. I had no definition of existence.
Yeah, because there's one big problem.
My biggest problem with the movie was this. I didn't know who I was supposed to be watching it. When you watch a movie, you're kind of supposed to get engulfed into that world, whatever it be. If I'm watching The Hobbit, like I feel like I'm a hobbit watching the movie. You know what I mean? I understand the world as I'm supposed to view it through the eyes that they're telling it to me because they start in the world of The Hobbit. So, you know, I'm seeing the world through Bilbo's eyes or whatever the case may be. This, I had no clue who the hell I was supposed to be.
The closest we ever come to is through Jacoby, because he's probably the most, and this is just saying it because he has a minute amount of characterization and motivation and backstory to him that he's becomes by default the most fleshed out character in the whole film.
You know, but
my problem is the fact that we have this alternate reality where all these species coexist, and we still have stuff from our reality, like, oh, the Alamo exists, and we have films like Shrek that doesn't exactly cross over the same way. Like,
and I don't understand. We have a resurrection story where the orc gets resurrected, but he's not. He's not.
Yeah. Also, the mythology is so slightly like.
Yeah, it's like he gets resurrected, but yet it's the human that ends up being the hero. Well, why resurrect the orc?
Right, and like right before that, in a scene they talk about, or no, I think it was actually after that. He talks about this orc guy who is basically like Orc Jesus who gathered all the 9 armies to defeat the Dark One. Well, why the fuck?
And we never get to meet the Dark One. The whole movie, the Dark One's coming, the Dark One's coming, the Dark One's coming. We never meet the Dark One.
Right. And also that's leads to one of my other cons with the Dark One. That if they're trying to establish this very realistic take with all these fantasy characters, it kind of takes me out of it that they call him the Dark One, which is just a generic name. Like, we don't call like Adolf Hitler and other very horrible, disgusting people.
Right.
Like, we don't give them these cartoonish names. We call them by their name.
Right. You know, we don't call him he who walketh the world and killeth people. You know, we call them Satan. You know, I mean, we give them a name. You know, I agree with you there. Like I said, there were so many movie plots in this that every time it twisted into a different movie, and I was like, oh, we're going to Elf Town now. Cool.
Which, by the way, I think that Elf Town could have been cut and replaced with something that would have helped further the plot. Because Elf Town is an example of poor setup and no payoff, because we only see it once and we never see it again. Never is there any relation to the elves being like we could tell by looking at them that they're high society. We don't need to see the scene of Elf Town, which, by the way, is another
orcs. The payoff was even the chauffeurs are snobby in Elf Town, because the chauffeur orc snubbed him because he had teeth and shitheads.
I don't even know if that's even a payoff, because that's in the same scene as the setup. So,
well,
I don't know.
It was kind of the make you feel bad for the orc thing, which I never felt bad for him. I never felt bad for that dude ever.
Which, even then, you could still cut it out, because we get even more of that throughout the film of the other orcs treating him like shit.
Yeah, I mean, I just, the bad cop story could have gone away. That whole plot line could have really gone away. You know, they could have just had that elf pick up the wand and all that bad cop stuff could have gone away. You know,
they could have set up the fact that, spoiler alert, Will Smith is a bright, even better.
You know, and the trailer made it look like he was going to use that sword for something. I kept waiting for them to like flash back to a medieval time where there was a brother with a sword, but apparently the sword didn't have dick to do with any of it.
Nope, just had to have a dirty homeless man be like, I have a sword, blah 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 exposition.
Well, he was part of the Shield of Light.
Shield of Light, yeah, I think that is Circle of Light. I don't
Circle of Light, whatever it was. Yeah,
this was pretty much a paint by numbers.
It was very, very
confusing. A damn shame, because it had a very interesting.
They had a lot of money
idea there.
They had a lot of money. There was a lot of FX money spent. I mean, that was all practical stuff, man. That was a lot of time of artists sitting in chairs and painting people. And I mean,
that's one of the few pros I can actually give to this movie, that as much as I really don't like David Ayer, I will commend him that he does use practical effects, like he did that in Suicide Squad with Killer Croc. And then he brought that back for this, which hats off to Studio ADI, I believe is the ones that did this, the effects for this, because they're making a comeback, because they did the makeup for it and they did the makeup for this.
Well, a lot of money spent on practical effects for this movie. I mean, I can't really see the whole lot of computer graphics in it at all. I mean, the magical stuff, of course, but I mean,
they also had fairies.
They had wire work, and I mean, the way the girls were flipping around, the fairy girls, or well, not the fairy girls, but the elf girls and stuff. I mean, that was a lot of practical wire work and stunt work. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on in this movie.
Yeah,
I won't ding them on that. I mean, it was exciting. I couldn't make any freaking sense of it. It just kept changing into a different movie every 25 minutes, and I didn't care about the old movie then. And then it would come back around circle to remind you of the old movie, and you're like, oh shit, that's right. That is still in the middle of all this, isn't it?
And the only other pro I could come up with, I don't know how you felt about this, but I felt like with what they've been given, I will admit that Will Smith and the actor that plays Jacoby. I'm sorry.
I read his name at the beginning of the show. You know who it is.
Yeah. I sense that they did have good chemistry, and if they had taken the time to polish that script and make it not a jumbled mess, they could have pulled off something better.
This was not an After Earth for Will Smith. I will give Will Smith. He tried to play the troubled cop of the weird world the best way he could. And I'm sure they gave him a lot of direction on what they wanted from him. They didn't let him run wild, because that's how you end up with After Earth. Um,
I also have to commend the actor who played Jacoby for pulling off a serviceable performance in that makeup. Because
yeah, but to be able to speak with that friggin' mouth prosthetic alone, that's like hours of having that shit in your mouth and just talking is what that is. Because I've had dental prosthetics in my mouth, man.
And also the fact that acting through prosthetics isn't going to be the same as doing a performance you would unhindered by that in a way, because you have to kind of sometimes over exaggerate what you're doing behind the prosthetic.
You could tell in certain scenes that like the costuming for him, he was really big and muscular in some scenes, and in other scenes he looked awful stuffed. And I don't know if those were reshoots or really, but there were a couple of times when he showed up on screen to where he wasn't bulked out at all, and it was just like, oh, sad face. You couldn't afford the costuming, or something broke. What happened? I mean, you did notice that, right? I mean, I'm not just imagining it. I mean, it was a couple of times he showed up on full screen, and he had like the lats were gone, the shoulders were gone. He was in makeup though.
Yeah. I wanted to give another pro though to a little minor touch. I believe this was actually through CGI, but it was just really so slight that however few times they would have his ears kind of twitch, kind of like what you would see a pig do.
Something would have been
just
nice.
A little minor nuance that I caught that I was like, oh, that was cool to look at. It doesn't take away from the fact that this movie's a walking pile of shit, though.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't. This isn't on my top 10 list. This isn't even on my top 100 list.
Which I hear they're making a sequel to this, so hopefully they focus on writing more this time.
Well, that's why we didn't get to The Dark Lord, because they only gave us half of a shitty movie. They kept the other half of a shitty movie that has all the good stuff in it. Right. Maybe the second part will be the good part. I have no idea. What are your last final thoughts on this, pal?
I don't think I would recommend it. Maybe if you're wanting to have a fun night with friends, just getting a 6-pack and wanting to make fun of some movie,
or find out a show like this is doing it, and you want to be part of the show. We can understand.
If you want to jerk off to Halloween 3 with us.
Yeah, me, I'm glad the wife only saw the last 20 minutes of it, that she didn't have to suffer through the 2 hours before that. Me, it's not on a rewatch for me. Like, I immediately, the Gladiator just happened to be on when I turned that crap off, and that's what I watched before the show. So, yeah,
I think we're probably gonna forget about this by the end of the night. Wait, what were we talking about?
I have no idea. And with that, you know what that means? It is time to do this. That's right. That's what it's time to do.
It's time for us to say goodbye.
It's time to have that sad going away music.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Good night. Farewell. Avidas and adieu. Join us next week. Same time. Same bat channel. We'll do something else crappy or good. We do some.
We're gonna do The Room. Totally. I'm gonna talk Rev into doing The Room.
I have told you I will do The Room as a producer, and you and Starshine can present it as the hosts.
Sorry,
I don't think that's any. That's the fairest offer I can give.
Guys, you are all witnesses. Rev's gonna watch the movie. I'm going to doctor this, so it's good in front of the judge.
I am not watching The Room ever.
Yes, you are.